So,
oh, it's live. We're live now.
You
Good evening, everyone.
You chat amongst yourselves there while I do the technical bits.
Okay, let's play Bingo. Jimmy, any crack your end anyway? Have you created any new songs or anything interesting?
Yeah, I'm in my studio now, and it's like it's been a busy time. This is great because I don't have to go to work anywhere, so I can just sit at home all day and create. Now it's not that you don't end up working all the time. I have lots of times when I'm not doing anything. But my daughter's in the charts at the moment with Trophy Wife. You know.
Yeah, we'll have to get her on, Neil.
Yeah. Okay, can get her on sometime. She's doing her final year in Trinity, so she's writing a dissertation as we speak. Probably not. She's supposed to be anyway.
What's my glasses are flashing there? Is there something?
I don't know what's happening there. Yes, I see that.
What's that, lads?
Some sort of CIA carry on where it's like.
Oh yeah, we can let on it's Bill Gates' new technology. Do you know what it is? It's probably that backdrop. It's weird.
It's reflecting from your computer screen.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Broadsheet on the Telly on this day, Thursday, the 23rd of April. I feel it's appropriate to tell everyone the date because I know everyone likes to look at the back catalogue of these in the years to come by. Joining us tonight on the panel, we have our regulars, Vanessa, celebrity accountant, the celebrity accountant, all the way from sunny Walkinstown, Crumlin area. We don't know.
Hi, everyone.
Buzzing in from the Fox Rock of California, Derek O'Donoghue. Looking very slick with his hair tonight.
It's called the Cats, Los Gatos, the Cats. So I don't know about Fox Rock.
And our special guest, all the way from the sunny part of Dublin over in Malahide, the sunnier part of Dublin, I should say, Jimmy Smith. Jimmy, welcome to the show.
Well, hi Neil, how are you?
So lots happened in the past 7 days.
Oh Jesus, lads! Don't. If I you know what? If I got my hands on that virus, I'd have killed it myself.
So how's everyone getting on under the circumstances since the last time we spoke? Maybe we start with yourself, Jimmy. How are things over in the Malahide, and how are you getting on?
Oddly enough, I was out today. I went out with my daughter, and it's busier. There's a lot more cars, a lot more people out. There seems to be a kind of a breakdown of commitment to social distancing and isolation and all that stuff. Naturally enough, I would imagine. So I don't know what game the government are playing here with releasing those figures today and the R number, the R naught thing.
Yeah.
We were talking this earlier. I don't know how they come with that. I'm not a statistician, but the statistics so far, and Vanessa, this is more your area. I mean, I don't know how they come up with these stats at all.
Do you know, Jimmy, I was tracking the numbers every day from the start. Once the first case was confirmed and it started escalating, and on Twitter, I was doing the percentage. Do you know what I mean? Cases, deaths, and because people understand percentages per head, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it can be interpreted a lot easier. And in the end, I just stopped doing it because the numbers were just too unreliable. And as an accountant, you couldn't possibly issue information if you couldn't put your signature to the number.
Of course.
We're using. So I had to stop doing it because it reminds me a bit of the housing. Neil, you remember in previous shows when we were talking about the homeless numbers and stuff, and they were all deliberately different because they don't have to stand over any number they present because they know they've inserted enough doubt into everything that you don't have to worry about it. You know that no confidence can be put in it. They can't be held to the number.
But we for this yesterday, the days are blurry. Either yesterday, yeah, it was yesterday. Was the first day they actually told us how many active cases are currently in hospitals, and the figure was somewhere over 700, with 132. Give or take, of those in ICU, and because we had been used to seeing the total number of cases in the country up until that point. And what were your thoughts when you saw those figures? Was it a surprise? Was it a shock? Any feelings about that?
Well,
I know, Derek,
we discussed this very briefly just before, that we have some empirical evidence that, and I'm not conspiracy at all, a conspiracy theorist, but I wonder why, like Navan Hospital, for instance, I know is not overrun, and the intensive care unit, I don't know how many people are in there, but it's not overrun. And my nephew is a phlebotomist there, and they've kind of waited for something that never happened. So it's and I heard the same about Waterford, but I don't want to be spreading rumors or anything. But I wonder if that number is even correct, the ICU number. Once again, once you start getting some dodgy stats, I have no faith in any of the numbers, really.
I missed the news from Ireland today. So you need to fill me in on what figures came out today.
28 dead, and we're at
900 odd extra cases, and
it's similar over here. The earliest case in California has been put back about a month now as well. There was the first case over here. The first case in America was supposed to be up in Washington in a nursing home, but now they've discovered that there was at least 3 cases in California before that. Up to 3 or 4 weeks before, and so I don't know if that's in one way it could be good news, because if it is more if it's more spread out to the population than we think it is, and people been able to deal with it, then maybe we are more on the way to the herd immunity than we think we are. Like I'm very supportive of the idea that like we have to stay in place and we have to protect each other and not move out. But if this thing has been in circulation for longer than we think, maybe we are sort of over the worst of it, or is that too optimistic way to look at it?
I guess the problem with it is that, you know, we didn't see the surge, and the government acknowledged that, and that's because of lockdown and the measures that were put in place. So you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't with that. I think the burning question now, when you look at Ireland comparatively with other, certainly European countries, is we still haven't seen a published timeline of expectations around what and when restrictions would lift. And I understand the hesitancy around that, but you know, they're moving goalposts should things deteriorate. But that seems to be, anecdotally from talking to people, I was going to say on the streets, but I haven't been doing that, but talking to friends and that on Zoom and all of that crazy stuff, you know, there is a frustration amongst people who are out of work saying, look, we just would like to know, even from a mental health perspective, you know, when can we, you know, at least have a date in our diary? Because we all know at this stage, because they've teased it enough, May 5th is just a number post for the year.
You know that over here, Georgia and a number of other states are going to reopen. Starting on Friday, things like gyms and barber shops and nail salons, hairdressers.
Oh Jesus, I'd be delighted if they open here.
Vanessa will take a flight to Georgia to get her nails done.
Oh lads, I'm telling you. But humanity has been crossed.
Donald Trump was like, wanted the country reopened, but when the governor of Georgia, who he's a big fan of, they support each other, when he announced that he was opening up, Trump told him he was making a big mistake.
That's right.
Trump is trying to play it both ways. You know, he's trying to say, well, I told him it was a mistake, or I was the one who wanted the country to open up.
Didn't he say that all the governors of the states, Michigan and Minnesota and Georgia and those states, that they would stay within the phase 1 of whatever that is? And he said the Georgian governor is going outside of that. He's opening gyms, as you said, so that the arrangement was not the idea.
Yeah, I think Trump is just trying to cover all bases. Like his press conferences every day, like he contradicts himself 10 times in 5 minutes, because then he has an out, you know, and he says enough for his base to keep them happy, because he says a little bit for everybody. But I think it's a scary experiment. You know, the mayor of Las Vegas yesterday was saying she wants to be a laboratory test or a case study.
Yeah, you know, but Derek, I'm going to cut in if you don't mind. I listened to that a small bit, and yet, like, she's coming across quite badly, but she did make the point that, well, they're the expert, like the hotel owners and the casino owners, they can figure it out how to make it work. That's not her job. And that was kind of refreshing, because she was basically staying to her lane and let the experts figure out a way to open it. Don't be asking her how you open it and just lash it open. And I think with this whole thing, if all the politicians had just stuck to their own lane and let those that know what they're talking about on any particular topic take the lead in it, instead of trying to second guess them and Like, you know,
Well,
Trump doesn't know what he's doing. He's changing his soundbite is different. Like you even said, he changes tack even within the same press conference.
Yeah.
Like he's clearly not in charge at all.
But when his doctor, Dr. Briggs, you know, the girl with the scarf.
Yeah.
Now I'm not an expert on women's fashion, but oh my God, these scarves are annoying me every day. She comes out with another big scarf, right? But
She's probably hiding all the love bites.
I'm out of my lane here now mentioning that, so I'll take that back. But,
careful now, Derek. Careful now.
Yeah. But what's it called? She was asked, like, how do you social distance when you're getting your nails done? How do you social distance when you're in a beauty salon? Or how do you social distance when you're getting your hair done? Like these are ways. These are industries where the very nature of them, you can't social distance. You know, or getting a tattoo done. How are you going to get a tattoo done from like 2 meters away?
Well, I mean, this is the big question, right? You're talking about the 5th of May here, and I don't know what the lockdown time is there in the States at the moment. Anyway, incidentally, is California going to secede? This is the time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But,
oh yeah.
But the 5th of May being, I mean, okay, everyone, I have no work to go back to. My industry is fucked. It's, oh, Jesus, can I swear? But it is so gone. There is no chance of anything. It'll take a year to rebuild anything like, and from me up to, and I'm a small time guitar player guy, and up to whoever the big rock star, Ed Sheeran, whoever, it's over for at least 18 months, totally and utterly. There's nothing to go back to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's the toughest thing, really. That like you're saying 18 months, Jimmy, and I was talking to Stephen Garland, the comedy promoter, and literally from the lockdown, he kind of said his business was wiped out. And you're then saying there's a lot more people out and about now. I'm getting a very definite sense. People have had enough.
Yeah.
And you see, I'm not going to talk. The America, what's going on in America is, I suppose, is very different to what's going on here, Derek, because we're being told to stay at home, right? To help them flatten the curve, to help the health services flatten the curve, okay? And there's so much wrong with that, even as a citizen, right? Because we have lads on six figures, benchmarked for life salaries, telling the people on 0-hour contracts to stay at home. That's just not equitable. That's not. And then you find out that your Minister for Health then just, I know he laughed it off later on about it's COVID-19 because the COVID-1 was this, COVID-2 was that, COVID, you know, so that COVID-1 to 18.
He should have resigned straight away there.
Jesus.
That was a sacking offence. Kelly Ann Conway was saying the same thing over here.
Incredible.
My 10-year-old daughter knows that's not true. Like that.
I even knew it, and I'm telling you, I did no science. I even knew that. But you were talking. It's not even about managing this crisis and being the face of the healthcare services in this country. That department has much wider reach than just frontline services. It has a huge budget. It's one of the biggest budgets in the state. It has a huge manpower. But one of the biggest employers between the Department of Health, HSC, TUSA, and they all feed in, okay? It is just a monster of a department. If you think about it, previous ministers for health, right, or Micheál Martin, Brian Cowan, all went on to be leaders of their own party, and Brian Cowan was Taoiseach. Do you know what I mean? Like this is a major department. And for the leader to be the man out in front telling people to stay at home. Because our healthcare service has been run into the ground for the last 20 years and we just can't cope with a surge, right? And we're saying the numbers are bigger now. That's because they've gone into the care homes and the nursing homes and the direct provision centres to test. Oh, these were waiting to happen. The first case was confirmed here on the 29th of February. And it was the 3rd or 4th of April before they came up with the rescue package for the nursing homes and the care homes. That's complete neglect.
What's happening in the nursing homes is a scandal.
You know?
Like, people go to nursing homes to be taken care of. You know, they should be safe there. and
Exactly.
instead
And-
it's like a concentration camp.
But here's what I'm not get. This. I feel like I'm kind of taking over this, but I've worked in hospitals, right? And every hospital in the country has their own procurement officers and their own buying and their own, stores management and all this. And there you have like the head of the HSE who came in from Fingal County Council via Aircom, and he's ordering stuff off the internet. Like, and hospitals throughout Ireland have their procurement officers, nursing homes have their buying groups. They do all this. They brought in a PR guy to manage the message, despite the fact the HSE and all the hospital groups, whether they're HSE hospitals or voluntary hospitals, all have communications officers, but they're still bringing someone in. They brought in a firm EY in, but there's no gurus. There's no, kind of pandemic gurus being brought in. They're bringing in PR people. I mean, it's just to be telling people to stay at home. Your business is wiped out, or so you're saying your career, your livelihood is just completely gone. And you think about like even the impact on our lifestyles and our social lives here. There's no GA for the summer. I mean, that's enough to have them completely. If there was another election to wipe out from again. No Galway races. These are all big earners for the state.
There was conflicting information today as well about the movement of people. So Tony Houlihan this evening said that there's data indicating people are moving out and about more so in the last week. But at the press conference this morning, who was it? Liz Canavan said that a study which was done by Transport Infrastructure Ireland found that volumes of traffic were in line with previous weeks and the guards weren't seeing any particular increase. So there's conflicting information that's coming even in that area. Now it's probably spin to make sure that people abide, as the weather has been good and the Maybank holiday is coming up. But still, it begs that question, coming back to what you said, Jimmy, if one figure is wrong, what else is wrong? And it comes back to that point of where's our timeline? Where's the plan that shows us?
I understand that, Simon Harris is clearly out of his depth, clearly. And, a vote of no confidence, he survived that, but just by default, this COVID-19 thing kind of saved his career, as it were. And they're a caretaker government. I know all this.
Saved a few of them though, Jimmy. Micheál Martin's as well.
Well, absolutely. And he's on the news this evening talking again. And, I'm no fan of those guys at all. You know this, Vanessa. But we have a caretaker government. Maybe it's time. Let's sort it out with the Greens or whatever's going to happen. Just sort it out and get where I stand on this. I thought we'd a sea change 2 months ago, but but I understand that nobody, the Brits, the Americans, nobody has a timeline on this. Nobody knows what the hell is happening, and that begs the bigger question. The big existential question here. That's what we're talking about, more than micromanagement of even something as big as the HSE. It's like. I was talking to some friends today, like artists, musicians, and I was saying, "Do you understand what's going on? This is like a quantum event. This is like the coalescence of Raymond Kurzweil and Adam Curtis and what Harari talked about. Every possible doomsday scenario has kind of happened. We might be seeing the very end of capitalism. That's what we're talking about. This, we're all socialists now.
Yeah, I suppose I spoke about this before. It's about how one of the things about this shutdown now that it's gone on and on and on, but the sheer inequality in our society was very obvious even from the first week of when the lockdown started happening and the trickle effect as it went west, I suppose. Like getting the whole idea of people applauding our healthcare services on the street for me was an extraordinary insult to these people.
It's obscene. That's what it is.
Yeah, and even my late mother would have been one of those. I tell you, I know exactly what she'd have said if people were lighting candles for her and clapping on the street. And I just find that now the people that are. Particularly, I think after this week with the numbers, with the not knowing the numbers and kind of coming up with this number and they'd have a few days to tell us this, and it's just a game. It's just a game, and the fact that we're getting information via a PR guru and not from experts, you know. And this gaffe from the minister. No, it's just not going to be enough to keep us locked down again, to keep us locked down further. And the whole idea of the herd immunity, for me, I've always felt we probably all have it anyway.
Mm.
Do you know? I have had that feeling for a long time. Obviously people are scared, and and to keep people scared by behaving recklessly, as I was saying to Jimmy, it's a form of bullying. And I don't want to be seen to be that person. But something has to give here. Somebody has to be in charge here. Figuring it out.
But this is the difficulty, right? The difficulty is, like, I'm very, very concerned about civil liberties, right? Hard-won freedoms, the right to assemble, the right to worship freely, you know, all those freedoms that we've taken for granted. Like, we have to be very, very careful about those freedoms. But at the same time, we don't want those freedoms are not good to you if you're dead, or if your reckless behavior has killed somebody. So this is the balance we're trying to come across with. Like, for example, just if Liverpool have a chance to win the league this year, first time in 30 years, if they win 2 more games, if the Premier League opened back up and I could go to see the Liverpool lifting the trophy, right? I would love to be there. And as a free individual living in democracy, I would think it's my right that I should go. But if I went to that game and came home and my best friend's mother caught the disease because I went to that game, how could I live with myself? So we have our civil liberties, right? And they were hard fought for and hard won, and we need to protect those. And we have a right to gather and assemble. But if I gather and assemble, and then I don't have the right to put you at risk, or put my neighbours at risk, put my friends or my family at risk. If, like, there was a crowd of lunatics at the forecourt yesterday, John Waters and a girl called Gemma.
Don't mention the war.
Well, there was a whole crowd of lunatics with just debasing the Irish tricolour, right? Debasing the Constitution, and they're perfectly free to assemble, right? Even though it's breaking a law, I support the freedom of assembly. But if one of those people, right, if they infect one of their family members, well, is that not manslaughter? Is that not willful neglect, reckless endangerment? Because we know that there is this danger of passing on this virus, and so I have my right to freely assemble, and I that's really important. You have to really defend that right. But if I'm going to recklessly endanger you by doing that, there's a consequence for that too.
Well, this is where citizenship and being a responsible neighbour and friend and daughter, wife, girlfriend, this is where we all have to find that within ourselves at moments like this.
It's the perfect storm, Vanessa, this virus, because it makes, I would totally be on the same page as Derek with the civil liberties and right to assembly, and I'll defend to the death your right to say it, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Voltaire and everything. But I found myself the other day, a couple of weeks ago, when the first lockdown, and I realized, okay, we have to take this very seriously, because it's not just looking out for myself. It's, I don't know who I'm giving it to. I don't know, vulnerable populations, all that stuff. And I'm up in Malahide Castle having a socially isolated walk, whatever the fuck you got, socially distance walk, and there's a bunch of young fellas smoking a joint or whatever they're doing in the tree. And for once, I felt, where's the fucking police? I became a totalitarian. I'm going, I want to lock those little fuckers up, because, and I'm going, hold on a second, wait a minute, I'm conflicted now. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's we now have this conflict going, That's the difficulty. But it gets back to what we were saying about governments. I mean, someone like Simon Harris is clearly not well placed to instill any confidence in anybody. That's what what you said, him making that gaffe yesterday was a second offence. I'd have to agree with that. But we have a history of not getting rid of recalcitrant.
There's no penalty for incompetence at that level.
the elevation of mediocrity, Vanessa. We're brilliant at
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. but the whole thing, like you know, what Leo's speech to the nation and about we come together by staying apart, and like as the weeks have worn down,
Winston Churchill, the
Yeah.
Terminator. I mean, that was the biggest mad woman's fanny of a speech I have ever heard. It was stupid. It really was. And everybody the next day was lauding him. What a wonderful orator.
But like, this is the thing here. This is what I mean about the complete trashing of our society here. This is what it's done. Because we can't ole our way out of this one, folks. We have like the lads that are like, I'm repeating this again. The lads that are telling us all stay at home and wash our hands. They're all on 6 figures, benchmarked for life. We have manual labourers who can't work from home. You know, like tradesmen, they can't work from home. They can't go out and earn a living.
I think
what I mean? They're completely out of touch. Completely out of touch as it's gone on.
I'm going to disagree on some things. I do think Leo's speeches, regardless of no fate, but the fate you make for yourselves, John Connor, speak moments. I do think compared to what other leaders were doing at the time, his speech was, I felt, very good, regardless of where he was pulling it from. And, you know, there was actions taken, and we are in these waters we've never been in before. But integrity in what's being communicated, I feel, is key as that process goes on. And, you know, we're going to have slip-ups and falls. That's fair enough. But I feel the country's at this critical point. We all know the seriousness of the situation, but you know, if complacency is setting in, and I'm kind of hesitant with that word complacency, because it's really more fatigue that's setting in with people. And you know, if you feel there's no light at the end of the tunnel, that kind of can drive anyone up the walls. But I cut him some slack with those speeches. I mean, when you look at what Boris was saying in his speeches at the time.
Sorry, I found it a deliberate attempt at populism, and he's completely. They've demonstrated they're completely out of touch. If there was, they would have at least, if they were negotiating with the private hospitals, they would have at least had an entire plan to provide the service. You know what I mean?
Vanessa, apart from anything else, do you not think that the likes of Simon Harris and Leo Varadkar too, in the last, since he's been at Taoiseach, but in the last year, and these guys need to get in touch with Scott Morrison in Australia and see if they can get a lend of his empathy coach for a few weeks to get through this, because they clearly lack. I mean, I'm not, you know, it's almost psychopathic. It really is.
Just some breaking news there. Sorry, now just some breaking news there. In the last few minutes, the EU has endorsed a package of 500 billion to be in place by the 1st of June to help.
Yeah, but this is what's been happening over the last 3 weeks, is that it's all about borrowing. The government they're borrowing bonds. They're borrowing, the EU are going to buy bonds at a price, and we buy them back, right? From that's what this package is. If you look at the business post the last few weeks or in the papers, it's all about Bank of Ireland. Come and talk to us. We can help you out of this. AIB, we can work it. We can figure out if you need finance during this time. It's all about borrowing.
What sickens me there is the Fed over here were able to create $1.5 trillion for the stock market when the stock market started to collapse. Just great.
And did you see who was getting the payments, the payroll subsidies in America? Yeah. Like CEOs on 10 million a year, and they're taking
46 billion to a hotelier.
And they're getting subsidies to pay people their minimum wage.
Did you get your check, Derek? Has your check turned up yet?
No, I won't be getting one. But
you won't be, that's interesting. I know now. I was speaking to some friends in the US. They haven't received their check yet, but I was speaking to somebody who lives in Ireland, and they received their check even though they're no longer residents in the US. So,
really?
Maybe it could be. You know, I don't know how they're cutting those checks. Whether it's
how do I apply? I lived there for 10 years. Maybe I qualify.
Yeah.
But just to go back to what Neil was saying there a second ago, Vanessa, I'm very interested in what you're saying about the creating the money and how they're doing that. But I want to make a point about the media in Ireland. like everybody pulls on the green jersey, and like it's like we were clapping ourselves on the back, saying what a great job we were doing.
It's tokenism.
But all the like the Irish Times, Irish Independent, RTE News, and loads of people on Twitter saying like sort of scoffing at the English and what a bad job they were doing. But then I was looking at figures here from Santa Clara, or from the Bay Area, which is a population of 7 million. And when Ireland had 486 deaths, there was only 180 deaths here, only. Just terrible to say only. But we've like a population of 7 million in the Bay Area, and we had nearly like a quarter of the deaths that was in Ireland. And all this praise that I was seeing.
But is that down to testing though, Derek? Was that down to testing and calibration?
But that's about confirmed cases. But you can't hide deaths, right? If people are, unless you test dead bodies afterwards to see. But if people were dying, surely that would have to show in the statistics. Unless California is completely like way off base altogether. I can send on. I have the stats it's from about a week and a half ago. I'll send them on to you just to compare. And it's going, well, we're praising ourselves so much here in Ireland, and yet like a much more tightly dense.
What do you mean by praising ourselves?
The response, how sensible we are, how responsible we are, and how
well, I'm calling bollocks to all that now. I think they were too late. I think once the first case was confirmed here, who had made himself known to the HSE the week before, had said he was there in Italy, in this resort where it flared up with his children. This was a GP there.
Yeah.
He said, well, what do you want me to do? And they said, you'll be grand. He then tested positively, having been in work, his children at school.
Yeah.
The following week. Now, I'm not saying that's the causes the spread.
No, but then the rugby fans.
But that was the point then to shut down. That was the moment then to stop all planes coming in from that area.
That's what Jacinda did in New Zealand, and look at what
exactly.
happened.
And like she then took a wage cut, and our lads gave themselves a pay rise.
There you go.
Listen, I'm in the wrong game altogether. I'm telling you now. Jimmy, yourself and myself are hitting the road now at the next election.
I don't know. I mean, that's where the money is clearly, but that's what I'm saying. I think maybe this big, and I know you're an ethical capitalist, Vanessa, right? But maybe this kind of economic market, because they keep talking about the economy all the time, and I'm going, well, the economy. Okay, I'm no economist. I know a little about Keynes and Smith and Adam Smith and all that stuff, but I really don't get it. And it doesn't impact me. When the economy is booming, I'm still getting 80 quid for playing in a pub somewhere. That's commerce, right? And I think this economic model that we're dealing with in the West is no longer fit for purpose. That's what I think. I think we're in for a big land, to say.
I've mentioned a couple of times over the last few weeks on this about this notion of the universal basic income.
Yes.
Andrew Yang was talking about. Now, as I'm no economist or financial expert either, but it does seem to be that for lots of different reasons, this crisis is a catalyst to maybe send us in that direction faster than otherwise would have been. But there is this notion that with the advent of AI and that jobs are going to be replaced, and not just low skill jobs like bank managers. Jobs.
The end of the industrial revolution. Yeah, of course.
Algorithm would be able to do it better, right? Yes. Lawyers, doctors can all be replaced by AI. Really, jobs that we think you need the human touch to do will be replaced by AI. So I read a book, 21 lessons for the 21st century, and he argued that he used this phrase: you're going to end up with a class of superhumans who are able to access all the developments in biotech and who are at the very, very top of their game, like said, the elites. And then everybody else is going to be like a useless
like the
class.
rest of us.
The rest of us. Like, and I'm not talking about an underclass or a criminal class. I'm talking about people that we think are professionals now, will be a useless class in the future. And so his argument was that we need to provide a safety net, right? And part of that safety net, where you have universal benefits like healthcare, like education, so on, but you also have a universal income. And with this universal benefit and this universal income, then he said it could be a godsend that people would then be able to like live their true lives, to be creative, to help out with soccer teams, to help out their family, to rear their kids, to take care of their elderly parents. Like so that this was the upside of it. But so he was saying that the argument was for this universal basic income. The American presidential candidate Andrew Yang, he stood on this national platform, and he was offering to give $1,000 each month to every citizen, as a start to this, because he was parroting this mantra as well, that this is what we're going to need. We're going to need this. This is the future. It's coming. It's happening. Can't stop it. How long in the future it is, I obviously can't tell. But I think what's happening now. Jimmy, you mentioned earlier on about the destruction of the capitalist system or the current economic model. And if you have like 22% unemployment, or over here there was 22 million people have looked for unemployment, those people are going to need cash. They're going to need a bailout, or else the businesses, the banks, the landlords won't have any money either.
But so, this idea, Derek, you're talking. It's essentially Nietzsche. What you're talking about, the Übermensch and the Untermensch, right? And and yes, it could happen. And I'm a big fan of Harari and those guys, and Kurzweil I talked about earlier, the AI guy. And this idea, no Western government is going to let go of this model very quickly. As Vanessa points out, it's a gravy train for all of them. For all of us, the rest of us, the Untermensch here, who are creating work and just, I've personally speaking, I've made my own work since I was 15. This is the first time I've ever been on the dole. I'm 61 years old. I've never been on the dole. And this is the first time. And you know what? It's pretty cool, actually. The idea that they'll pay me a few hundred quid to sit at home and write music. Fucking great. It's not enough really for me to live on, because I was successful in my lifestyle. I bought a bigger house than I probably should have. But, if I could cut the suit, this is perfectly all right. I'm quite happy with the idea that I can just create music and don't have to go and drive around the country to make a few bob. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you see, Derek, the one weakness, well, it's not a weakness, right? But I suppose it's this is the way it goes. Whenever there's change, people adapt, the workplace adapts. You go to the Industrial Revolution, people adapted to a more automated way of earning a living. Go to World War I, they adapted to having women in the workplace. Mm-hmm. Inflation, people adapted to the coming on of inflation. World War II, people adapted, more automated, computers, 50s, 60s, people adapted, the workplace adapted. Do you know what I mean? And I think that will happen again. The only thing is, I think it's been undervalued. And it's I'm getting at this from two ways, really, because the people that are impacted the most by this shutdown is the labour workforce. It's been totally underestimated, the contribution of human hands in the workforce. And you can automate everything and Wi-Fi everything and cloud everything and AI, what the feck you like, and future heart surgeries will be performed by robots and all this. I'm telling you, there will still be a human labour hour in every activity, in every transaction.
Because
of that I'm sure of. The other thing.
Let me go in there.
Yeah.
Because it's not worthwhile to develop a robot to pick strawberries.
This is the thing.
That's your point, right?
Probably, but you see, if you look at Ireland, right, and Norma Burke did this beautifully. I thought when in her campaign, in her manifesto, right, about having a minister for small to medium-sized businesses in Ireland, okay, and because 70% of our workforce are in the small to medium-sized business. Neil and I are in that area. You know, we're both self-employed. Jimmy, you're there. That's our artists. That's our accountants. That's our lawyers. That's our improv guys and, you know, bread makers and our bakers, our artists, our secretary, you know, our painters and decorators, our window cleaners, our taxi drivers. We're all in that space. Our coffee shop, our restaurants, our chefs, they're all in that space. They need to be represented now because every freaking night last week, Brian Hayes was on the news or on something. He is a former Fine Gael MEP and TD, and he's now a lobbyist for the banks. But you don't see anyone from the credit union movement there. And we have 3.7 million members on the island. We're never brought in. But he's there every night. He is there all the time. Every time there's a camera, he's there. And he's representing the big business. That's the access he has, or his members, or the people that pay into his organization in the Irish Bankers Federation. The insurance, they all have representation at government level. But the 70% of us that generate income for the state and generate activity and create our movies and our artists and our bread and these wonderful things we export, we're completely ignored. We're the people that are being asked to stay at home now and stand out in the street and clap and cheer everybody on. Yet we have no voice. We're just completely, when I say we, I'm using the royal we, everybody. But I mean, if you read this idea that we're the ones here now stopping the spread by staying at home. And when in reality, they don't give a shit about us anyway. And you're talking about how we come back from all this. We come back by doing what we do best, standing up for ourselves, standing by ourselves. And the Irish are one of the founders of the cooperative movement worldwide. And our biggest brands are cooperatives. I think it's time now for people to recognize there is a very small fraction of our society that are completely feather nested and completely protected, no matter what. Mm-hmm. And there's the 70% of us in this country that have no voice at the top table. I'm not talking about looking for a revolution here, but the thing is, this has been a great equalizer in one way, in that it has demonstrated that we're not all equal, we're not all the same at all. Do you know what I mean? And I think the entire gap in our society and where we have failed, and it wasn't the pandemic that caused this. This has been 30, 40 years in the making. We're still trying to get over the fact the Catholic Church ran this country for years. We still haven't got out of that. They still haven't paid their bills. They still haven't paid their compensation. They're still paying a PR person to cover it up. They're still hiding from it.
And to your point, Vanessa, about inequality, the people who are dying are the poor people. Like by and large, like the statistics over here in the States it's the minority communities, black communities that are being hit hardest.
But that's
a result of the inequality in society. Because
it's not even in society. It's in our Department of Health and in our HSE. There was inequality because the most vulnerable to this disease or to this virus, they knew it by first week of January, it was hitting elderly people and people with immune systems, compromised immune systems and COPD, right? But like the last people to get the attention were our care homes, our direct provision centres and our nursing homes. They were the last on the list.
Yeah. Criminal.
It's not even in society it's unequal. It's in our very own departments. It's in our very own government.
I'm totally in agreement with that. I think Derek and we all probably are. But there's actually, Derek, maybe help me out. There's a guy, very interesting Republican candidate at the moment in Massachusetts. He's an American Indian, not a red Indian. He's from India family, and he's a I don't know what he is. He's a PhD in something or other, and he's talking. His whole platform is about producers versus parasites in society. You know that there's two. Do you know who this guy is?
No, No.
He's Republican, is he, Jimmy?
He's a Republican GOP guy, and he was in Massachusetts there a couple of weeks ago. He had a great half-hour speech on YouTube about this stuff, and I said, "Wow, coming from a Republican, that's really interesting." But he hit the nail on the head. He hit pretty much what Vanessa's saying. There are people that do stuff, and there are people that exploit it, right? That's a very Karl Marx thing, of course, but that's what Vanessa's saying, that we're expected to go out and applaud the work that these nurses and drivers and guys are doing, putting themselves in the face of this thing, when 6 months ago they were getting told to be penalized if they went on strike for something high. For they're working for 400 quid a week or something, crap money, you know what I mean? Maybe now we see, well, let's, as a society, surely honor these people by paying them properly, not by singing songs and clapping them at age.
Stand by them, stand up for them, stand up for us.
Well, you're talking about, you're saying it's not right. That's a very revolutionary idea, Vanessa. You know what I mean? And every time we ever try and do that, and as an ex-member of Sinn Féin, I thought that had happened 3 months ago. You know, a quiet revolution. But no, it hasn't. They've still managed to
cut them out.
No.
But the way Sinn Féin have gone very quiet, though, have they?
Well, do you know what, though? But this is...
I don't think Sinn Féin trying to, like...
Oh, no, they've
no, but Derek and Jimmy and Pink, right, when I was talking about the sheer gap of how we're treated by our own government, actually Mary Lou was actually very ill with COVID-19, right? But all you heard about was Claire Byrne and Tubbs being very sick.
Of course. But still
Boris got more time here in our news because he was sick than the leader of Sinn Féin.
Of course.
Who won the election on a popular vote.
Absolutely.
You know?
And also, she had 24%.
Well, in terms of first preferences, I know if the Sinn Féin surplus was elected at least another 30 TDs from other parties. At least. And in fact, the Sinn Féin surplus was more than the entire Labour Party got.
But they should be able to then come together. A left, I would like to see a left bloc coalition.
No, they've expressly refused to talk to the Fine Gael.
No, but Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are not left wing. The rest of the like in the inter-party government in the 50s, like the left.
If ever there was a time for a unity government, it is now. It was now, and it has been poo-pooed. It's been blown out of the water by these guys.
The strongest government we could have got out of this last election in February was a Fianna Fáil Sinn Féin coalition. Absolutely, because you would have had the strength of character that's in some of the Sinn Féin TDs. You know, you'd have Pearse, you'd have Matty, you'd have Louise, you'd have Mary Lou themselves, who are in a different planet compared. I know O'Brien, in a completely different planet compared to what Owen Murphy, who's acting minister for housing at the moment, and then working with Sinn Féin, who have experience in government and have experience. That would have been a perfect opportunity for Mary Lou and Sinn Féin to develop their parliamentary party and develop a party that would be leaders in the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And build a country for that. But for some reason, Fianna Fáil, now some of Fianna Fáil want it, some of them don't. Micheál Martin, I think, is probably the weakest politician in the country at the moment.
I wrote an article before the election, right? And I predicted that no matter what happened in the election, people would not be happy with the outcome. I called for two groups to come together. I called Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael to come together, and I called for a left bloc to come together and give people a choice between a centre-right and a centre-left government. But I predicted that what would happen at the end of the election would be a hung Dáil, and that nobody would be happy, because Fianna Fáil went into the election saying, under no circumstances would they go into government with Sinn Féin. Fine Gael said that. So if Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael turned around and went into government with Sinn Féin now, that would be a betrayal to their supporters. People who vote for them not to go into government with Sinn Féin, right? So you can't say that would be like the ultimate of hypocrisy as well, you know. So what needs to happen? I agree with Jimmy. There should have been when this crisis happened, Eamon Green, the Green Party, called for it, a unity government, a national government for 4 months. Eamon, did I say Eamon Ryan? Anyway, the Green Party, Eamon Ryan, he called for the unity government, 4 months, get through this crisis. new election.
Mm.
But for the next election, there needs to be options for the people. Two like alternative governments, one led by Sinn Féin and one led by the bigger of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael.
But traditionally,
And-
elections, Derek, had like a voting pact between parties. That that say if you
But there
if you
wasn't
look
this
at
time.
no, and
So it was bound to end up the way we ended up.
mm,
Like there's people. Fine Gael and Sinn Féin were never going to go together. That was never going to happen, right? Now Fianna Fáil are always like they will float left or right, whichever way the wind is blowing, right?
mm.
They're a real pragmatic party, but if they went in with Sinn Féin, they will erode some of their base as well. Like Sinn Féin will swallow them up over the next couple of years. So there's people in Fianna Fáil who like going in with Sinn Féin. Some people in Fianna Fáil would love to go in with Sinn Féin, but a lot of people in Fianna Fáil, it's like Sinn Féin is a bigger enemy than Fine Gael. And there are legitimate things that for people to feel.
And in actual fact, if they were loyal to their ethos, it would be a natural progression to merge Sinn Féin and Fianna Fáil together.
Of course.
As organically, it would be. But see, Fianna Fáil made the big mistake.
I think part of Fianna Fáil, there's about half of Fianna Fáil would be more suitable to go and join Fine Gael, and half of Fianna Fáil.
There's a huge chunk of Fianna Fáil, and in fact, nearly 70% of the TDs that were returned are pro-life Fianna Fáilers. So Fianna Fáil are in a very dangerous position at the moment, because in the run-up to this election, they thought they were getting in excess of 50 seats because they were in the 30s. But what happened during the campaign is people realised that they weren't actually the opposition at all. Mary Lou was the opposition. Fianna Fáil, the confidence and supply agreement that Fianna Fáil, Micheál Martin agreed and backed up Fine Gael for so long, but has been the most damaging thing to Fianna Fáil and most damaging thing to politics and democratic politics in this country it has ever seen. Like, it's far worse than the bugging affairs. Bugging,
I think there needs to be a new election, though. Like, the only way to sort this out is a new election.
I was hearing that on Sunday night at the count, that there was going to be another election.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I was down in Kildare. I was down at the count in Kildare. It was late night now. It was coming up. Could even have been after midnight. And one of the most brilliant political minds that I know had said, "Oh, but should we be out again here now, mate? We'll be out again in May," she said. So, but then I didn't expect this last government to travel so long. But that was the courtesy of Micheál Martin and supply the competence and agreement supply.
And now we have we're on the cusp of it now again, with very much like 16 years ago with the Greens and Fianna Fáil essentially creating something together, which fine. I don't know where that is now. I know that Eamon Ryan is arguing he's put forward at their 17 points or whatever it is towards formation of a global movement, right? And I'm not privy to what they are exactly he's talking about. So let's see what that happens. But yeah, we could see it. But then of course this happened then in the middle of 28th of February.
Oh, it said Micheál Martin. I'm telling you, this is I tell you, I'd say he's out licking door handles, delighted with the whole thing that this has happened, because this has saved him. This has absolutely saved him, because he was more mortified with this election than I would have thought than Fine Gael, because they knew they were in trouble. They knew they were in trouble. Fianna Fáil went into voting day in the 30s in the polls.
That's right.
And what they did was prove that they weren't an opposition party at all.
Well, I hope you're right, and I hope that there is an election very soon. However, we're still dealing with this pandemic. I think this idea, looking at what's going to happen in Africa, what's happening in the States at the moment, they're talking about the stats seem to be flattening curves everywhere. I don't think by the time the second wave of this inevitably comes, which has already happened in Japan, it'll probably be August, September. I don't know what the timeline is. I think we need stable government well in place by then, with the right people looking after the right portfolios. And when have we ever done that as a nation? We've never.
Well, a couple of years ago, actually more, it was just after the do you remember the last election? Not that obviously this one was in 2016. And I remember there was about 3 months trying to form a government, or 4 months before the government. And the late Philly Keane wrote an article about the Republican government of Fianna Fáil and Sinn Féin, and predicted the various lads that would be in the different departments, and how one Shinner would keep manners on it, one of the Broadsheet,
It's time to get her to republish that article.
Probably, yeah. Probably need to rejig it as well, so lads didn't get re-elected. But it's a very worrying thing for Ireland, the amount of pro-life candidates, Fianna Fáil ones in particular, that were re-elected. As Timmy Dooley wasn't elected, and that's fair enough, that's his constituents. But he was a warrior for the the pro-choice campaign, an absolute warrior down in the southwest as well, where it was a difficult ground. But did that happen? Is that what hurt him in the election? I don't know. But I think it's worrying for me personally, that the amount of pro-life Fianna Fáilers that were re-elected. That because whatever happens next, Fianna Fáil are going to be thereabouts in the next government. And that's a worry.
There probably is a 30% socially conservative vote out there. Isn't that what Pater Tobin was trying to get with Renew It, or not Renew It? With Aintu. He was.
And listen, same shit, different bucket.
Yeah, but is it, there is that 30% socially conservative people. Many Fine Gaelers are socially conservative as well,
Yeah, but I think that's a diminishing. Value, to be honest with you. Yeah. I think that's I even within Fianna Fáil itself, you could actually see that that's where it's struggling actually, because there is no you'd have Ogra Fianna Fáil, and then you'd have sort of the latest clutch of candidates, and Michael McGrath is only in his 40s, and if he would worry me. Now he's very brilliant, he's very capable, and he's very smart, and he is probably potentially a future Minister for Finance if he's not a Taoiseach or a Taoiseach. But he would worry me in terms of where we've come in Ireland in the last 10 years compared to what we still haven't changed. Might have changed the law, we still haven't changed mindsets.
No,
they're still very difficult out there for women.
I'm going to take us out of the sewer for the remainder of the show, and just try and put a positive spin on what's yet to come, and particularly what you're having yourself on tonight, Jimmy. It'd be great because we can get a wider view. Now, I will emphasize, let's focus on the positives here rather than the, oh Jesus, look at the summer ahead of us. So we know that there's large scale concert sporting events are goosed probably.
Can I tell you what's happening with the summer ahead of us? We're all going to be in tracksuits and hoodies, because we won't be able to get our legs waxed or other bits waxed, or we won't be able to get our tans on. The hair, the nails, lads, I'm telling you.
Vanessa, on that note, right, and this is an embarrassing confession. 43 years of age, in our 6th week of lockout. What's a man to do? I decided, Joe, what? Never done it before. I'm gonna wax my legs.
Why didn't you do it on air, Derek?
I ordered it was a painless hair removal.
Haven't you been to 40
years? Was it painless?
Warm wax.
Give us a look.
Derek, give us a look. What does a
What
does a 40-something Californian Irishman's legs look like?
Did you get a Californian?
I don't.
That would be my normal wax, a Californian.
I did the leg. It took me 4 hours to do one leg, and I was in agony. The next day, I tried to do the second leg. Right.
I had to do it in 2 shifts.
I did as far as my knee. Right. I was not going near my thighs, and my inner thighs with wax again.
You're taking this cycling very seriously, Derek, because you're shaving the legs and everything.
Yeah. So
Derek, with the cycling, is there lycra involved?
No, it's a spin bike in the garage here. You
Oh,
know,
all right, okay, fair enough.
they're
But their swimming pool in their estate is opening next week. That's what he's doing. He's getting himself speed already.
but honest to God, right? Why anybody would put themselves through that? Look, I have an excuse. I was in lockdown, and people are saying to me, Derek, that's not an excuse. But oh my God, it's sadistic.
The
You
things we do for the men.
Well, and speaking of which,
Wait, whatever you do, don't get pregnant. Jeez.
it's California, and you know they can do amazing things over there. Derek might be the one carrying it. With the sports and the music cancelled, and again taking the positive spin, maybe we'll go to you with this, Jimmy. Where's our entertainment going to come from? I mean, are we going to be watching people online? How, like, as a musician,
Derek?
how are bands? How are bands? You know, are bands able to work on material, or you know, what is our gig? Are the gigs going to be Facebook streaming, or what do you think is going to be the future?
I think it's a brave new world there, and I'm dipping my toe in it myself. I do once or twice a week. I do a half-hour live stream from my studio here. You know, it's you know, I can't work with anybody else. And my daughter now, who would be an up-and-coming act, she was supposed to be doing shows in the Workman's and all that stuff with her. She's 2 singles out, so May and June was going to be gigs. I'm telling her, well, you got to start thinking about, you know, performing to a live stream, stage it, or Facebook Live or whatever. And there are some fantastic things on Facebook Live. There's an awful lot of crap, but I mean, there's people like this. As Vanessa mentioned earlier on, it's the great equalizer. So I mean, you can flick over to Chick Corea in California, playing an hour of just a free concert, just playing in his piano room, and it's amazing, absolutely amazing. John Mclaughlin in France, one of the greatest guitar players ever to walk the earth, is playing. Now for pop music, you know, I'm not sure how interested I'd be in Ed Sheeran or somebody doing one of these things, because I'm not a big fan of that music. It's you know, for his audience, that seems they need that frisson of 10,000 people. The Glastonbury thing, well, they're all gone for the. I don't know what's going to happen to those kind of bands. I feel sorry for younger artists, you know, because they just, I don't know how they're going to build up a kind of
a repertoire, stagecraft, yeah,
and you know, a hardcore fan base. I mean, it's, how do you do that unless you go and start playing in the Workman's Club and the pub in a tie and whatever the hell it is, you know, over to London to do the little dives, and that rite of passage has been taken off them. So
yeah, that proves my earlier thing, Jimmy, about all this way of life. You know, this sort of tier of society has a very valuable contribution to make. It's not just being on RT and getting elected and, you know, getting these big jobs. It's a huge contribution to our society that doesn't get any nod at all.
None of them. Stephen Madigan came out with a thing there 2 weeks ago. I don't know if you saw it, and it was an insult, and it was like for you know, people who are artists and musicians, whatever. There's a €1 million, and
between them.
Yeah, 3,000 euro bursaries, and so I said, I'll have a look at that. I see if it's something, you know, I'm well respected, blah blah blah. I could do something, perform. And the idea was you write something, perform it on social media. And the first line was, if you're receiving the COVID-19 payment, you're exempt from this. And I'm like, who the fuck is this aimed at then? You know, we're all on the COVID. And they know the arts in Ireland have never been well served. You know this. You know what I mean? But again, there are, you know, it's in the hands of it's not just young people, actually. Incidentally, that's the other thing. Great equalizer. The people like John Mclaughlin. John McLaughlin is 78 years old, and he's doing streams from his house that are getting 300,000 views. You know.
Who's John McLaughlin?
What?
So Jimmy, just kind of just on music, because
before I leave that, I want to come back one thing. One of the things I really missed when I came over here, first of all, was live music. Being able to say we went out for a night out, just like you know, you walk through a town, you'd hear a band playing, you go in, or you look up a local band, you go in and see them. That's not available. There was loads of like major artists playing in big venues, or even in wineries. But they're all big artists. You couldn't just stumble across a band the way you would at home.
It's long gone from California. That's a very difficult thing to do, and it's pay to play and all that stuff. It's an impossible scenario. I don't know how bands break out of there at all. You know.
But in saying that, though,
we really missed. It was very much part of what we did at home. Like, we'd love to go see live music. You cannot beat like actually being in the presence of somebody who's playing music.
Well, Jerry, that's an interesting thing. I've lived in America. I've been all over the world, and we were the biggest whingers in Ireland. Let me just say that for starters.
Oh yeah.
I'm
We're
always
always
saying to
cribbing.
musicians, lads, the only place in the world where you can still put three guys together or girls or whatever, record it, or rehearse a set of whatever you want, of new music or whatever you want, go and play and charge 5 quid or 10 quid at the door and actually make money is Ireland. There's nowhere else in the world you can do it. Nowhere else you can do it.
Not even Nashville, Jimmy.
No, Nashville, no, forget about it. You're paying to play everywhere.
So
right.
just kind of on that though, Jimmy, because with improv comedy being my thing, and we're also coming to terms with this, and we're a lot of us are doing free shows and the likes, and some people are toying with the idea of a payment. But do you think that's something that's sustainable from a music perspective? Because we're seeing a lot of free music. I'm not talking about the big names who are doing a free show for us from the goodness of their heart. I'm talking about people who do it for a living. Do you think that's something that people can entertain in the meantime of doing a show online and charging a stipend or a nominal fee?
My own empirical experience of it, I started doing it because when this all happened, I was broke actually. I paid all my bills, and I go, Jesus, everything, just the diary emptied overnight and blah blah. So I thought I'll go online, and somebody suggested. So I did it and put a PayPal link up, and I did it for 2 or 3 weeks until I got my dole, and it was like, wow, I was doing okay. I was doing actually okay. Now I don't know how long that's sustainable for. I had 3,000-4,000 views of each one. A lot of people were just contributing to the PayPal thing. Everything from €2 to €100.
It's interesting.
I don't know how long it'll last, but I think there has to also, we have to be a little bit like yourself, like improv comedians, social commenters, musicians. I think we all have accountants.
Celebrity accountants, Vanessa, is what you mean.
Recalibrate what we do, recalibrate what it is, and what are you trying to do? Are we trying to communicate something? It maybe has to have something else. You know what I mean? It's going to change music, of course it is, because all art reflects the society it's born in, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we have to change the art a little bit to suit the new arena, which is the live.
But Jimmy and Nate, everything we do for a living is going to work very differently from now on.
Well, I was talking to Paddy Cullivan about this. Paddy from the Camemberts, and Paddy and myself have been doing much the same.
Oh, that's such a lovely thing to say, the Camemberts. I don't know.
You know what, Vanessa? I was told you should never ever drop names. You know who told me that? Jimmy Page.
Oh.
I'm kidding. But I was talking to Paddy about that, and he was saying, we were saying, actually, with what Derek was talking about earlier, if there was some kind of universal wage, a stipend, that we could work for much less. We wouldn't need as much money. We're not greedy. We can't afford to be. You know what I mean? We don't need to be making huge money all the time from music. I'm happy enough to cover my costs and have a few bob to buy groceries, pay the bills.
I think a lot of artists would agree with that, Jimmy, and feel the same for sure.
And that's a definition of success for me. I mean, there's Madonna would have a different metric, but that's good enough for me.
And
but she's a business. That's a very
different. That's an interesting thing. Actually, I don't know how I brought her up, but I was flicking around there, and she did a live thing from her place and wherever the fuck she is, and it was appalling, singing into a hairbrush, and you realize, okay, you have no talent. You were just a market manipulator, and you were very successful at that. But as a singer and an artist, just beat it. Retire already.
But did you see in Phoenix today, Alan Kelly's brother is the guy that put together that gig?
I know that guy, and he's Alan Kelly's brother. That's interesting. Yeah. He was on one of the TV shows. It was Tommy. I did Tommy Tiernan's show or something a while ago, and there was this guy. There was a guy on it, and I was wondering who he was, and it's that guy. He put that big thing together.
Yeah.
Dublin guy, or from
Tip.
Yeah. Wow. There you go. That was a ball. That was a terrible ball.
And what about sport?
The Stones were funny though. The Stones.
What about our sporting fix? A good friend of mine, her fiance is a big hurler man, and I swear the weekends now he just puts on his hurling gear and sits on the sofa watching reruns of Jay. No word of a lie, he watches the reruns of the games. So I don't know how he's going to be in a couple of months' time.
He's from Tip anyway. He's from Tip or Clare
anyway. Go away.
Oh, God love him.
Look,
but you see, my big worry about the championship season this year is that Tip, it'll be their first back-to-back they've ever done in my lifetime. And they wouldn't even have to get out of bed for it. Jesus, I can't live with that. I can't live with that. That's a big problem for me. But I think the loss of the GAA this summer is, I don't think people will realise how the effect that's going to have on them. Even just hearing it in the background.
Yeah, it's going to be huge.
Huge. The Galway races is a huge earner for the state as well. That income is gone.
But also the sport feeds the soul too. Just like we're saying about music earlier on, and how hearing live music is brilliant. Like sport is like it's part of what makes life. Life.
But Derek, I know you already professed you'll never walk alone allegiance.
Yeah.
Just for knowing, I'm a Chelsea fan, so I didn't want to tell you that too early on because
it could be worse.
Can you imagine in the cop or the shed end anymore? I mean, I can't imagine sitting with 20,000, 80,000 people around you. It's just, I can't imagine it, and it won't happen for years. It can't.
Well, Neil and I don't support foreign games.
Oh.
I don't know, Vanessa. Now, if you were jetting off on your fancy trips to America, now you'd be sitting at a baseball game on your.
Are you winding me up now? My trip to the States has been cancelled. Jesus, I tell you, I gutted, lads.
I had a great year because Liverpool were doing so well, and then over here the 49ers got the Super Bowl.
Right, okay.
And
who were they?
So it's been a brilliant year. Jimmy G. Vanessa, check out Jimmy G. You like Jimmy G. Jimmy Buffalo.
All right.
If you ask Simon Harris who the 49ers are, he'd probably say, well, we don't know, but the 48 before them failed anyway.
Oh, stop it. I mean, how is he? Lads, I'm telling you, where the fuck did I go wrong?
Keep it positive.
I see all
Keep it
these
positive.
guys.
Vanessa, I want to ask you about your baking competition that you were probably inundated with baking photographs on.
Do you know what? I think baking was like the first 2 weeks of the lockdown, first 3 weeks, we were all baking. Oh, I'll try this. And I bake anyway, but I think people are fed up with baking now. They're now doing other things. They're making candles or they're knitting or.
Well, the pictures of bread that people are sharing
bread,
on social media.
The sourdough now, yeah. What?
It's like they're like the dick pics of social media now, or all the photographs people sharing of their baking creations.
Just for the viewers, right? It went for Jimmy as well, and probably Derek, but Neil wasn't into baking at all. He couldn't. I said to him, just try soda bread for the first time and buy a kit and see how you get on. But no, Neil had to go to the Formula 1 of baking. The sourdough, he's making his own starter. And everything.
We have a broadsheet exclusive, and I'm going to disappear for a second. I baked a loaf of sourdough that I'd been working on for
3 weeks.
It started with the sourdough starter, and I took it out of the oven before the show and I covered it. So this will be an exclusive for Broadsheet. You can see my entry for your bake-off challenge. So I'm going to leave you talk amongst yourselves while I go grab this fantastic concoction from the oven, just to show you the other side.
The oven. Do you know what? You're going to make a show of me, Neil.
Vanessa, I bought a kit and I bought some icing, but then I started waxing my legs, and it took me 2 days, and I forgot to actually bake the cake. But
you can still bake it.
I could for next week maybe.
Oh yeah, no, we see the baking thing started off as a bit of a skit on Broadsheet because the Frilly King column did it when the Bake Off kicked off, and it was kind of done to wind up a few people, but people totally bought into it, and then it just went on from there. But yeah, we did, Jimmy, a couple of weeks ago we set a challenge for the Broadsheet for the lads to do a tray bake with a picture on it, but everyone's just fed up, I think. Come on, let's see this bread.
Well, it was a big thing. But I don't know. We had a lot of banana bread here. I can tell you that much.
Oh yeah, they went mad for banana bread.
I swear those banana bread must have been aphrodisiacs. People were cooking so much. There must be something in them.
But there's the next health crisis. It's all the COVID babies now. You wait now. There'll be loads of babies now born in around January. They'll all have, which is in the GA, we call that an extra year of minor. Perfect family planning.
So I'm going to reveal the Broadsheet sourdough and have images in your head of the wonderful loaves of sourdough you're getting in your local bakers. I call this the sourdough scone, as it didn't exactly come out the way it would have on the box. And I couldn't find a smaller plate to put it on either.
Turn it upside down, right?
As you can see, looks like a scone. It is genuinely sourdough. There's a sourdough starter in there.
Did you cut it yet? Cut it.
No, I'm not cutting it yet.
Well, there's a
I
part
saved it for the morning.
No, well, should we have to see what the inside is like?
I know
It
that'll be
looked
for
good
the
to me. I
follow.
don't know.
That Paul Hollywood wouldn't let you away with that now. Come on.
All right, I'll go get a bread knife. Talk amongst yourselves.
No, just pull it apart there like
I'm
the
not
Hollywood
pulling me
would do.
creation, me baby. I've been working on that for God knows how long. That sourdough, taking out the press every day and beating it and all that. I've never had anything like it. Rearing a child would be easier.
I don't know why you didn't just go for buy the pastry and put some jam on it or something. Oh, good grief. We won't hear the end of this now at all. So anyway.
You tell from that if that's a good sourdough loaf or not.
Well, it looked a bit like a rock scone. A rock cake there. I don't know. We know from the inside of it now what it tastes.
All right, okay. All right.
The thing about sourdough, sometimes it doesn't look right, but it tastes exactly as it should. So,
All right, okay.
we'll see. I'm all nervous now. So I was going. Derek, I put down that Kim's kitchen or Kim's convenience. Yeah. Do you know what? It is very, very funny, and your man is very funny. He goes, "Oh, you printed the Jesus. Oh, you know this little quirks like that. I love it. But you get fed up very easy. I could manage one. I could manage two max at a session.
Really, I think the manager in the garage, the female boss, is very funny. I think he's a wicked like
the girl.
Yeah, she's a great one-liner.
Oh no, the performances are all brilliant, and it's great. It's only 20 minutes. But it does wear thin a bit. You can get a bit annoyed with them as well, you know. Oh God, same guy.
I don't know. I enjoyed it.
But I'm going to make a start on the Sunderland show now, Shorty. Here we go. Let's put it up to the camera.
I'm putting it up to the camera. Jesus, it's a minute.
That's not baked.
It's not baked.
No. Stick your finger into it there, and does it bounce back?
Yeah. Yeah. You can take it back to your to make that to your celebrity mansion, Vanessa. It's cooked, baked. I won't say to perfection now because the knife, I broke 2 knives trying to cut it, but sure, look. So we're coming up to the close, folks. Any pressing points you want to share? Any predictions for the week ahead? And we do want to tell you what we have in plan, what we have lined up for you for next week with the show. We've got something special lined up. But anything?
Better make sure you're waxed in, Darren.
Oh, that's a one-off. God.
Come here. Do you know what was on telly last night, lads, on Channel 4 or Film 4? Midnight Run.
Oh, fantastic!
It was just brilliant.
Right, very good.
De Niro and what was your man's name? I loved him. The character actor. Robert De Niro. What was the name of the guy? What's his name?
It wasn't Groton, no. Grodin.
Charles Grodin. Charles, is it? No.
Yeah, I think it's he was in Beethoven. He was the dad in Beethoven.
Fantastic character actor. I loved him.
As you can see, I like entertainment movies. I don't need high tech.
I haven't watched one movie in the last week, so I have no entertainment. No.
But you know now, a movie now that was very good. What I thought was very good was Creed, the boxing one.
Didn't watch that now somehow or other.
Do you know for the lads, you can watch The Hustler with J-Lo. She's a stripper in it.
Would you believe I watched that? That's 2 hours of my life I'll never get back. It was fucking appalling.
It was terrible.
Jesus Christ. I mean, I watched like in morbid fascination. I said, surely it can't be as bad as I think it is.
You morbid fascination. Go away that, you dirty devil. All the girls in there.
Well, I sure did. Lizzo did everybody in it for a minute and then we're all gone. It was just crap. It was shit. How did those movies get? You know, Derek, I live in LA and I know how hard it is to make a movie or make an album or, it's really hard.
Yeah.
How did they get that past the first 2 meetings? Seriously.
Was J-Lo in a G-string?
Well, that's an opener right there.
That's it. That's your pitch.
But after that, it's like, lads, it's a ball of shite. Everything.
It should just matter. J-Lo on a G-string. That's your pitch, the best pitch ever. Do you know what's a great movie where an all-woman movie is Ocean's 8, Jimmy?
I did see
That's
that
a great movie. And do you know some of when the show was off, there was some great shows. Did anyone watch Late Night with Emma Thompson?
I did. I watched that. She was very good.
Yeah,
I
fabulous.
seen years and years. I can't get that, but I want to get a hold of it.
But the girl, Mindy, in that, she's in Ocean's 8. And when we reviewed it back in the day, Ocean's 8, I did predict this girl to be a great star. And she actually produced that. She wrote and produced that herself.
What's her name?
Neil, you're the movie expert. What's that girl's name?
I'd have to look it up now. I don't have it off the top of my head.
I'll look it up there in a sec. But that's like, they're two great movies, everybody. I think that you should try and get to see it.
I spent my week going between Ozark and Cheers.
Oh, yeah.
Cheers, yeah.
Cheers with Ted Danson.
Yeah, I started with season 1, episode 1.
My God.
It's old, back to 1982.
1979, was this? What was the first episode?
I think it was, definitely one was 82 anyway. One of the episodes I watched was in 1982. But it's very funny. It's aged well, apart from some of the, like, at one stage he's going to bounce Diane off the walls, which obviously wouldn't get past, wouldn't get anywhere near a script today. But
yeah.
And rightfully so. But generally the humor is still funny, and it's I just enjoy it. You know, I think it's something about like the theme tune song hooked me in. Sometimes you want to go where everyone knows your name, you know, and that's something that we're really missing here. Just be able to go somewhere and say, "Hey, Derek, how's it going?" You know. But
actually, I kind of we on a related note, we lost a hero of comedy this month. I forgot to mention a previous show. Now you won't know him by name, but you certainly know his legacy in Ireland. Michael Clayton McCarthy sadly passed away earlier this month. I was friends with his wife, Susan Messing. Now you won't know the name, but he was the founder of the Cats Laughs Festival in Kilkenny all those years ago.
Oh, I know who he is. Malcolm Noonan was on it, but I know Malcolm, and he was talking about it. He was a legend down there, actually, everywhere probably.
Yeah, he was a writer and producer on Saturday Night Live back in the day in the Drew Carey show. And he was battling illness for some time, so very sad. But yeah, he was the man behind the Cats Laughs all those years ago.
Well, is that still going? Well, it's not going this year, obviously. Cats Laughs.
It is, yeah. If we had Johnny on tonight now, he'd be all up about it. So looking to next week, we have a special alternate lockdown show in store for you. We're not going to tell you what's involved yet because we're still in the process of confirming it, but we will have some treats and surprises along the way. And I think the less we say about it, the bigger the surprises will be. And you never know, it could just be the four of us talking shite again for an hour and a half.
No, I don't think we'll get away with that with what's in the pipeline. And there's also a virtual Eurovision show. So Jimmy, you're going to have to tug out for that one now because you know all the songs.
You know, the Eurovision is something that's I'm not a fan of. I never have been.
Come on, stop it.
No. Why would
la, 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 la.
And on that note. So
sorry, that actor's name is Mindy Kaling. That's her stage name.
So just want to thank our panelists tonight. Derek O'Donoghue all the way from California, Vanessa the celebrity accountant all the way in Dublin 12, Jimmy Smith all the way over in Malahide. Thanks for joining us tonight, Jimmy.
Our Northsider.
A Northsider. You see, we'll allow anyone on this panel, won't we? If we're still on the hunt for getting John Ryan back on the show, we need Broadsheet readers, trolls, and fans to lobby John in the comments section tomorrow. We want our John back because it's big shoes to fill. He's a size 12 and I have a size 10, and we just want to see him back on the air. So lobby him, peer pressure him, and get him to come back. Thanks all for tuning in. Have a safe, healthy, stay-at-home weekend, and we will see you all next Thursday. Thank you.
Cheers, Neil. See you guys.
Night, everybody.